Where?
Welcome to the... What? Hold on, folks. Give me 1 second. Okay. Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. You are an oasis of truth in a desert of lies. True! And that is a difficult truth. Ain't that the case? Okie doke. How's it going, Fifth Dimension? So I'm trying something a little bit different today. Just trying to spice up the just trying to spice up the overlays and stuff like that. So bear with me while I mess around. Good rainy morning. Nice. We've had how's it going, Silver Knight Dragon? A couple of quick thank yous. Thank you to Slug Trail, Chrysanthemum, Vipatsma for the offline follows, I believe. I'm glad to see you today. Thank you. I appreciate that. Here in South Florida, somewhere, we have been getting some rain, which is good for the plants, but it's cooling. The temperatures are cooling down, so I'm happy about that. Not bad, just started my day. Same. Actually, same. Mama Media, how's it going? True. Florida is not short of water, that's for sure. Well, depending on the season. Alright. Now, I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but I'm going to make it work. I've been trying out this cool new camera effect, however, the camera effect is designed to be applied to one source in OBS, but not. But unfortunately, this camera source is across the board, so I only wanted to show in one scene, not in this one, but we'll see. I don't know if that makes sense, but... Alright folks, we got a couple of headlines to go through, so let's do that here. We got one of our severe 5-minute fall showers this morning up here in Michigan. Oof. 1 second, folks. Yeah, it's Cat Tuesday. There we go. Shy bureaucrat, it do be raining, true. Some summer, well, I guess fall. Here, and I mean fall in air quotes because there's no such thing. There's no seasons here in Florida. It's kind of like it's really, really hot. Then it's kind of like not hot, but humid and rainy. Then it's like a little bit less hot. That's about as seasony as it gets here. I talked to Reed Timmer on Sunday, and he said a skinny squall line will hit Michigan on Wednesday. What is a squall line? Excuse my ignorance. Oh, I see. Yikes. You have hurricane season and not hurricane season. Well, true. True. Never trust a weather person. Next week, they forecast full-on autumn. Nice. Yeah, we don't have one of those autumns you speak of. We don't have one of those autumns you speak of. Oh, the storm chasers. Wow. I haven't seen or heard that name in a long time. Those the storm chasers, correct me if I'm wrong, are those folks who like built a custom like car, a custom built car to go out and report basically live from the storm itself. I remember seeing, it was like, I don't want to say a reality show, but it had that kind of feel where they would go out with specially modified vehicles to be able to go into storms. Draco Forever, how's it going? Autumn is wimpy winter. Gotcha. We don't have winter either. The best we have is like, it's not hot for a couple of days. Yeah, it was streaming on Sunday all the storms from Oklahoma to Illinois. Wow. Good day to you. Alright, folks. We've got a few headlines to go through. Let's see if we can get through some of these. I'm gonna... Let me try something here. What if... I duplicate... Except I make this one different. Oh, I see. So it's gonna... Okay. Storm chasers were needed before the age of neighborhood level 3D Doppler radar. They're still useful though. True. Storm chasing will raise your adrenaline level like a good volcano does. Oof. Just live in Tornado Alley. True. Okay, so how do I separate two camera sources? Okay, hold on, folks. Video capture. Yes. Okay. Dr. Heemdout coming in with a party of 151. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Welcome, Heemers. How's it going? Welcome, everybody. Potato Man plug. Feedback. There's an echo? Oh, I see. No problem. I got it. Ooh. Keep the echo. There we go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome. Welcome, everybody. We are A Difficult Truth. If you don't know who we are, we do news and politics Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you hit that follow button. And, of course, join us for Saturday Catterdays, Saturday about noon Eastern Time. Thank you so much, Dr. Heemdout, the fastest growing beard on Twitch. Please make sure, if you don't already, please go show them some love. Please go show them some A Difficult Truth love. Make sure you support twitch.tv/Dr. Heemdout. Thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate that. Hey Grom, how's it going? Not a cult? Are you sure about that? Keep the echo. Okay, so that was a weird accident, folks. Maybe I could make that as an effect. Don't forget to click the profile twice or the name and get the reference rate out of the URL. True! Does help us out, folks. How's it going, Potato Band Plug? Alright, I believe... It sounded like God. Okay, maybe I'll do that as a bit. Comfy and still band-pilled. Wait, still band-pilled? What'd you do? Well, clearly you're not banned anymore. I memed too close to the sun in some army esports channel and they banned my butt. You listen, careful Icarus, okay? Careful Icarus. I'm banned from iDan and I'm proud of it. Jesus, what'd you do? Dan is pretty chill. Listen, everybody runs their channel a little bit differently, and that's okay. Everybody runs their channel a little bit differently, and that's okay. Yeah, this is the true leftist infighting. Time to get comfy and enjoy my 6th Twitch raid today. I'm happy he sent me here. This looks wholesome and cozy. Thank you. I appreciate that. And once again, I appreciate all the folks that are hanging out here. Thank you for trusting and blessing and gracing us with your presence, Hemers. I'm gonna get banned someday for making fun of Trump supporters out of context. I can only do it in Hassan's chat. Listen, for all of you folks who are who like to meme too close to the sun, just remember, don't be like Icarus. All right? Yeah, this is a pretty chill, cozy place. So make sure you grab your coffee if you haven't already. Grab a refill, grab some water, and yeah. Hey, Dr. Dragon Rider, your audience is growing. I appreciate that. However, this time it was the raid from Hemed. So I appreciate that. And hey folks, my call to action to everybody here is to please spread the word far and wide that this is one of the chillest places to be for news and politics in the morning. Make sure you check us out again. I can't get coffee until I do laundry. Uh-oh. But how are you supposed to do laundry without coffee? How are you supposed to do laundry without coffee? This is a catch-22 kind of deal, don't you think? I've been here before. It's a nice space. Thank you. I appreciate that. With sheer willpower. I mean... Alright, folks. We've got news. We've got headlines to go through. Thank you so much. You all actually arrived at the perfect time. All of you folks have arrived at the perfect time because we're about to start our daily news and politics. So you arrived just exactly at the perfect time. I have a science test today. Well, good luck. Good luck. For what type of science class? You gotta work through it. True. High school science. Well, good luck. I think like throughout, but also the hardliners were right. It just depends on like what you mean. Do you mean like, should we even bother with like saving a system? Should we be more, it just depends what you mean by hardliners. For my GED, well good luck, Dendera. I think my favorite science class when I used to go to school was probably biology. I think that intro to bio and all the more advanced bio classes in high school were probably my favorite ones. Well, good luck, Nandera, and make sure you knock it out of the ballpark. Alright, folks, we got plenty of headlines to go through. Whoa! I loved history and science. History is interesting too. I love the hard sciences, but not cool with the soft ones. You mean like... So hard sciences would be, for example, like chemistry. And soft sciences would be, for example... I don't know. What's the difference? An armed struggle, a tightly managed resource protection, healthy amount of distrust of the imperialist court. Yeah, but like what that means is, I don't know how that will function in terms of like, what exactly would be the physics versus sociology. Gotcha. Yeah, because like what happens if that breaks out? I think it's all needing stuff to learn, but it heavily depends on the teacher. True. True. A conversation for later, you're on a different subject. True. I always find that interesting, though. The difference between, like, I mean, like, the difference between how we approach our objectives, I guess, are always interesting to me, but you're right. Folks, we've got the gauntlet to run through, so let's get some of that started. Election workers accused of shredding voter applications. Officials in Georgia's most populous county, where election operations are already under review by the state, have fired 2 workers accused of shredding paper voter registration applications, according to a county statement released on Monday. Preliminary information indicates that the employees checked out batches of applications for processing, and they are alleged to have shredded some of the forms, Fulton County's statement says. Fellow employees reported the alleged actions to their supervisor on Friday morning, and the 2 employees were fired that day. The county statement says the applications were received in the past 2 weeks. Fulton County includes most of the city of Atlanta, where voters are set to go to the polls on November 2nd to elect a mayor, city council member, and other municipal officials. The deadline to register on that to vote in that election was October 4th. It's not immediately clear whether the 300 voter registrations in question were lost. County spokeswoman Jessica Corbett said, "Normally, processing a voter registration application involves entering them in the state system, updating them, and verifying their information. That is the matter that is under investigation. What process was completed? Voters don't register by party in Georgia, so the applications had no party affiliation." Fulton County Registration and Elections Director Rick Barron reported the allegations to the Secretary of State's Office of Investigation. Fulton County called the Secretary of State office. "We told them about this and we asked them to investigate." Elections are the most important function of our government. We have committed to transparency and integrity. Georgia Secretary Brad Raffensperger, a Republican who has long criticized election operations in a heavily Democratic county, said in a news release that his office has launched an investigation and he called on the U.S. Department of Justice to look into the county's elections. True. At this point, history is the political science. I'll never understand how this was allowed, the whole audit. Wait, do you mean like how we allowed like election audits? I think that's just kind of par for the course. However, in this situation for the 2020 election, it was just kind of taken to ridiculous levels, right? I see that ad in the corner. Who else has been playing New World? I consider playing it. I considered playing it. It looks cool. It looks like a mix between Dark Souls, Valheim, and like Skyrim kind of deal with some Sprinkles, I think it's multiplayer, is it not? I meant the whole ninja thing? What? It's an MMO? Gotcha. Alright, I might consider that. I meant the whole ninja thing? I wonder how long they're gonna have on that stolen election copium all the way to 2024 and probably beyond, depending. Everything is gonna be a rigged and stolen election. So, yeah. After 20 years of documented failure in Fulton County elections, Georgians are tired of waiting to see what the next embarrassing revelation will be. The Department of Justice needs to take a long look at what Fulton County is doing and how their leadership disenfranchises Fulton voters through incompetence and malfeasance. The voters of Georgia are sick of Fulton County's failures. I also want to know, like, what exactly does that mean? What exactly does that mean? Does that mean, because, like, this is the first time I'm hearing of this. Then again, I'm not exactly, like, tuned in to Georgia politics, so... Why do they not say if Trump or Biden votes for... Well, they're not, like... This isn't for, like, the election that just happened in 2020. This is voter registration. And unfortunately, well... In the way the Georgia system works, they don't really put a party affiliation on their registration, I believe. It's a bit of a game squad, but the queue waiting for logs sometimes reaches 800 players, which was a deal breaker. Oof. Republicans could win the next 4 POTUS elections cleanly. They will still cry about 2020. True. Base of BJ, but Trump lost by over 11k votes. Yeah, that's true, but this is different. This is regarding voter registration, not counting ballots. If they were truly committed to election integrity, they would be governed by a nonpartisan agency. Now, that's a thought. I mean, it would be nice if we had, like, a nonpartisan type of separate, that's not determined by whoever controls the state legislature. It's always, like, a kind of, like, separate, independent entity that verifies, I guess, for election integrity. That would be an interesting concept. Fulton County does have a history of problems, including long lines, inefficiency in reporting election results, and other issues. Okay, so the problem isn't the accuracy. The problem is the system. The systems, or I guess the way they run the elections, are inefficient. They have long lines, and they take long to report the results. Okay, you can fix those things. You can fix those things. Right? The whole point, these problems aren't a election integrity problem, right? Because as long as you're reporting the accurate results, or at least the most accurate results that you can possibly have, especially after doing several audits, then the problem isn't that we have an election integrity problem. The problem is that we have a inefficient way of getting people to vote, which is already in and of itself a problem, but not with the reporting, or not with the accuracy or integrity of the actual elections or results. So salty over the fucking voter reg numbers, but they honestly get about her losing the contest and then twist it to mean the registration numbers doesn't match the vote totals somehow. That somehow means fraud when registered totals means nothing. Right. True. I agree a nonpartisan agency would be cool, but the Republicans treat elections with such bad faith, there's no way they'll accept anything that's not giving them a landslide result. Yeah, well, that's the cool thing about setting up a separate entity, would be that their opinion on the matter doesn't matter. Surely 300 people who might be denied a vote would report the fact. Maybe, or maybe, it's not aware until right now. They weren't aware until now, basically. Because in their mind, these people submitted an application or submitted the registration thinking that it would just be done. Yeah, you can fix those things. The question is, do you want to fix those things? Obviously not. True. Georgia straight up passed election reform prior to 2020. Pretty much gutted the services budget for a lot of these voting places. True. Yeah, they could fix it, but just like you said, the cruelty is the point. Right, just keep it not, they just basically put little tiny hoops, and the more of them there are, the less likely you would be inclined to vote and participate. So I think that's the idea. Which is weird, because that should then tell us, hey, we actually need to get out there. We actually need to make sure that we're completely aware of what your registration status is. Check your website, depending on the state that you are in. Check your website, check your registration, do what it is that you need to do, and participate. I know it's but a tool. It's but a tool. I was trying to figure out voting. I went to the polls in Germany a couple of weeks ago. Went in there, showed my voting reminder letter, went to the booth, and got out there within 3 minutes. What? Nice. Those stories only happen here when you have a populace that doesn't really vote that often. B, the second scenario where this might work is if you go in early voting really early, then you can do it like it's kind of like an in and out process. Not 3 minutes, but it is an in and out process if you do early voting. But must be nice. I wish it was always like that. I wish no matter what, you can just kind of go in there and have a 3-minute voting session and get a voting reminder letter. That would be fantastic. Yeah, or just vote in the suburbs. The June 2020 primary election was especially problematic, and the state election board entered into consent order with the county that included appointing an independent monitor for the general election. Yeah, like, why don't we have that just as a kind of like a norm? Kind of an independent monitor for the general election. There we go. There we go. The county also took numerous steps to ensure things would run more smoothly in November. The monitor, Carter Jones, who had previous experience working on elections in other parts of the world, observed the county's election process from October through January, and he observed sloppy practices and poor management, but saw no evidence of any dishonesty, fraud, or intentional malfeasance. Right, so like the problem here is basically just incompetence, inefficiencies. Not that there is anything wrong with the results themselves. I last voted on election day in a fairly populated riding Canadian district. 300 votes either way would change nothing. No, maybe not, but It's the principle. Everybody's the ability to have your registration good and valid is, and in other words, your path to be able to vote should be sacred. The barbed wire is almost gone, so are the armored personnel carriers. The young Uyghur men are back on the streets. Beijing is slackening its grip on Xinjiang after a brutal mass detention campaign, but fears remain pervasive. So they're easing up. Well, that's somewhat positive. That's somewhat positive. Absolutely not. The fact is, statistically, 30% of voters don't cast their vote, and that's the big problem. True. Folks, in order for a democracy to work, there needs to be 3 things in place. 1, there must be strong institutions, and what I mean by that is the institutions need to function as intended. In other words, if you have something like a judicial system, then it needs to function as intended, right? If you have a representative system, it needs to function as intended. Currently, it's really not. And mainly, the Senate seems to be quite broken. 3, there must be inclusivity. Inclusivity, which means people need to participate. People need to participate, and you need to get out there. China needs to ease up on the Uyghurs as they want to look squeaky clean to invade Taiwan. I don't know if their plan is to invade Taiwan. That would be just a disaster. That'd be a massive disaster on so many levels. On so many levels, it would be a disaster economically. It would be a disaster for many many people, many countries. I'm not sure. There's sufficient reasons why I think that China isn't going to invade Taiwan. It would just be very bad. I don't think China gives a fuck. Maybe not. No, I think that they're not going to invade Taiwan. I don't think so. I think that they've been kind of, for all intents and purposes, saber rattling with the flights overhead and all that stuff, but I don't think that they're actually going to invade Taiwan, because that would have massive ramifications, massive consequences, and I don't think that they're going to engage in that. That would be a mistake. Yeah, Taiwan controls the world's electronics. Yeah, so like I don't know. It seems like there's sufficient enough reasons. Oh, a mistake for who? China. It'd be a massive blunder for them. Because like what would they stand to gain from engaging in a military operation to invade Taiwan? What would they gain? How would they do that? What would be the consequences of that? Well, I'm not convinced that they are poised to engage in this behavior. That being said, they have other methods that don't involve military. Did you look at the Vogue thing I posted? Let's see. What? That's so weird, thinking Sabercat. Having the US waste all our time, throwing all our cash and resources into posturing in Taiwan while they just sit back and Belt and Road elsewhere and laugh. Right, so like, I don't think that their goals are necessarily to militarily invade Taiwan. I just don't see the logic behind it. So you haven't noticed the anti-China sentiment in the media for the last year? What? Are you thinking people act logically in the UK? We had Brexit. The concept people think with logic is kind of hilarious. Well, I mean, sure, but I don't think that, I just don't see it. I just don't see what exactly would be the benefit, right? I mean, like, China has been talking about this for ever and a half, okay? They're not going to invade Taiwan. It was a constant and at a high point when we were running forced sterilization in our border. Xi Jinping has staked his lifetime leadership on it and he wants to mask other China problems with its people. I don't know. However, maybe? I don't know. I'm not going to speak on stuff that I don't know a single iota about. However, what I do know and what I have seen is that the reality is I don't see what would be the reasoning behind it. There are about 100 knots of Taiwan and geopolitics in general, but the moment I hear China, I hear censorship of thought, words, philosophies, and faith. I'm opposed to that rod of government on principle. I don't like this, and I don't dislike many as I dislike Xi Jinping. Yeah, so I'm not exactly convinced that, in terms of like Taiwan, that they're going to invade militarily in Taiwan. I just don't see it. Alright, so let's finish this story here. Georgia State Election Board in August appointed a review panel to investigate Fulton County's handling of elections after receiving requests from Republican lawmakers who represent the county. Lawmakers used a controversial provision of the state's sweeping new election law to trigger a process that could ultimately lead to a takeover of elections in the county. Cool. Any Fulton County resident who tries to vote in an upcoming election and is found not to be registered will be able to vote using a provisional ballot, and an investigation will follow. Folks, this only tells me one thing. This only tells me one thing. So, if you are in Fulton County and you plan to vote in the upcoming, I think, mayoral and the council elections coming up, please make sure you check your registration. Just do it as a kind of par for the course. Make sure everything is good. Make sure that you know where your upcoming poll areas are. Make sure that you know when early voting, if applicable, applies to you. what are the rules to get the mail-in ballots, so on and so forth. Anything that you need to do to prepare, start looking into that now if you're in Georgia. Particularly if you are in Fulton County. TLDR, check your status, okay? Check your status. Facebook permanently bans a developer after he made an app that lets users delete their newsfeed. Cool. This is literally... The developer Lewis Barclay made a tool called Unfollow Everything for Facebook users. The extension lets users automatically unfollow their friends and pages on Facebook, leaving their newsfeed blank. Nice. Sweet, sweet silence. Yeah, that's right. Literally not. Literally not. If I was in Volton, I'd be calling and emailing to find activist groups. Yeah, just check your voting registration, okay? Check your records, check your thing. I think they even have a state website. Just please make sure that you are good to go. Don't let don't let anything such as this stop you from voting, and that should strengthen your resolve to make sure that you're able to get out there. A developer who designed a tool to let people essentially delete their Facebook newsfeed said he was served with a cease and desist letter and permanently kicked off the tech giant's platform. Lewis Barclay, a developer in the UK, is the creator of a browser extension called Unfollow Everything. The extension lets users automatically unfollow their friends and pages on Facebook, leaving their newsfeed blank. Barclay told Insider people could still connect to their friends and family on Facebook when using the extension. Barclay published Unfollow Everything on the Google Chrome Store in July of 2020 and said it attracted attention from researchers at the University of Neuchâtel in Switzerland who wants to study the impact of having no news feeds on people's happiness, as well as the time they spent on the platform. I'm gonna guess that A, it increases people's happiness, and B, the most important part for Facebook, it decreases the time they spend on the platform. That's why they're mad. In July of this year, Barclay received a cease and desist letter from Facebook's lawyers. He said Barclay published a redacted version of the letter online. Insider reviewed an unredacted version to verify its authenticity. Barclay, who published a Slate article on Thursday detailing his experience, told Insider he received the letter 5 hours after trying to log into his Facebook account, finding it was disabled. Yikes. The letter from the law firm Perkins Coie told Barclay that Unfollow Everything broke Facebook's rules on automated collection of user content without Facebook's permission and infringed on Facebook's trademarks. What? What? Okay. Cool. It also said Facebook's terms prohibited interfering with the intended operation of Facebook and encouraging others to break Facebook's rules. Okie dokie. It also informed Barclay that he was barred from both Facebook and Instagram. I was really scared and I was anxious. Yeah, I would be too. Receiving those type of letters are, creepy. Facebook's letter took him by surprise, he said, adding that Unfollow Everything had only 2,500 weekly active users and 10,000 downloads. It was definitely growing, but it wasn't huge. Apart from that, I very much saw it as something that improves the Facebook experience for Facebook users. True. He said that he got amazing feedback from people saying they were using Facebook in a way that was much healthier for them. Yeah, I can imagine. I can only imagine. Like, the thing here is, Facebook is notorious for cutting things in the bud For example, with their dubious, I guess, ethically questionable acquisition of Instagram and WhatsApp, I believe. I believe that this is why they're mad, right? And they're just trying to cut it before it grows big. Right, it will reduce the amount of big data available. Totally only in 2021. Or you can just not use Facebook at all and get your mental brain rot from Twitter, like me. True. True. I'm sure the code won't be available open source anywhere. I'm not sure. Barclay said he sought legal guidance on whether he could challenge the letter, but learned that since he's based in the UK, he's liable for Facebook's legal costs if he lost. Jesus Christ. Facebook is a $1 trillion company. I couldn't afford that risk. Barclay said after getting banned for having an account on Facebook for 15 years was a blow, especially because he still used the platform, and Facebook Messenger in particular, to stay in touch with friends around the world. Yeah, this is the problem with allowing a singular platform to have all of this power, I guess, would be the word. It's just not good. It's really horrible to have been cut off from that for a reason that makes me that feels to me unfair. Nonetheless, he sees a silver lining in getting cut off Facebook. I've been trying to reduce my usage of Facebook for years now, including making tools like unfollow everything. So I'm actually pretty grateful to Facebook that they've helped me make my addiction levels go down to flat 0. Facebook did not respond to a request for comment. I'm sure they did not. I'm sure they did not. It is a CIA plot. I just can't say the words. So every time that happens, and I say the words, I just can't say it. The words has been memory holed out of existence. So much for freedom of speech. Well, you have freedom of speech. You just can't say. That's it. What? Unacceptable. Folks, this is for educational purposes, of course. It is working. No, because it knows. If I say anything related to it will do it. Some GOP officials are urging... Oh yeah, okay, this is the article. Cool. Hold on, let me boost this over here. Wait, hey Alio, morning. Hello, how's it going? Is this headline just wishful thinking? No, not really, but, not really. Howdy. Alright, folks. The headline is okay news? Maybe, but we'll get into it, alright? We'll get into it. Just give me a second. Let me close this. Should Crowder be banned from YouTube as his latest jokes banned Alex Jones and mentions things that were TOS? If they broke TOS, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's not like Crowder repeatedly breaks TOS all the time and just... He keeps bringing the big bucks for YouTube, so they kind of, okay with it. I just realized the school program is funded by the government and they're paid for by they paid for my book's test. Is that a socialized program? Oh no. Oh, God forbid. Yeah, it would be a socialized program. Memo for the record. Morning, I have no way. And no, this, oops, sorry. Hold on, let me go back. They want to blame the Dems for all the things and you can only do that if they have the majority in one house. Ah. Howdy. How's it going, Heat? It's a little too late news, something like that. I just realized, yes, it would be some sort of socialized, it would be some sort of socialized, program, I guess you could say. I've been promoting this shit since the Tea Party. Rick Santorum called gay marriage couples be- Oh my god. Jesus. Yikes. Y'all need to read that book by George Orwell, not the one about the animals. The one with the date as its title. Oh, I think you mean... God dang it. The Lincoln Project is trying to get the Trump rod out of the GOP and go back to the Buckley Jr. conservative Republicans, which I don't have a problem with myself. Yeah, here's the problem, thinking Saber Cat. Although it's interesting because, like, hey, let them fight. But I see even the most moderate, or one could say the more rational conservatives, oddly enough, always seem to play cover or ignore or just kind of give a mild condemnation of the more far right elements that seem to be gaining steam within the GOP. Particularly, the more concerning one is that America First, kind of like America First MAGA slash America First slash MAGA kind of fusion that's going on here, that's catching steam. That's what's concerning, and I don't see the real spine or fight to kind of deal with that, right? Yeah, they spent all that money just to watch Trump get more Republican votes in 2020 than 2016. But those rational conservatives like Schmidt at the Lincoln Project before he quit over some Me Too shit gave us Trump. Schmidt said made Sarah Palin famous, and she, along with other, paved the roads. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, even the more like rational, kind of like not MAGA slash like America First kind of people, even them don't like necessarily really not they don't really kind of fight. Like, they sometimes like say like, yeah, well, we don't like the tone that Trump uses, and we think that it's kind of gross. Okay, but like, they are gaining representatives in the Congress. Okay, they are winning positions within the GOP. Steve Bannon has an entire operation dedicated to making sure. Steve Bannon is having is working on an operation to make sure, if and when a Republican president wins, that all of these like MAGA policies and MAGA influence and MAGA politics are appointed to these positions. No, not recently. However, this era kind of, or I guess like since 2016, kind of gave them the cover that they needed to be more comfortable with it. That's it. That's really what it is. And it's like, they're continuing to kind of coddle it, you know? I'll give you an example. You can say Steve Bannon, but you can't say. It's really to stop Bannon and Trump is the easiest way is to arrest them for sedition. Yeah, but like, you would need to have the charges like right there, but you can't really do it. It's all stochastic. It's stochastic. Okay, they're not out there literally saying do X, Y, or Z. They do it stochastically, which is incredibly hard to kind of like necessarily pin down. Because they don't say like, oh yeah, all these they don't say, oh, go out and take over the capital or whatever it is. They don't say that. They say you need to fight for your country. They say, oh guys, there's nothing you can do. You need to fight like hell. You need to save America. You need to take back your country. You need to, they don't really say go out there and do explicitly stuff. So it's like really hard to kind of like pin that down because also, folks, Bannon and Trump didn't create this. They're merely tapping into harnessing what already existed. Excellent point. Excellent point. I remember that when first, in 2016, when Trump got elected, one of the videos, one of the viral videos that went out, like when he won officially the election, was like a bunch of people. I know it's like a stereotype, but like a bunch of people on a pickup truck yelling and basically saying like that they're ecstatic that they can say the N-word now. I literally saw that was like one of the first like viral videos that came out after 2016. It was like a bunch of people on pickup trucks yelling that they could be comfortable with saying the N-word again. Ironically, the more people you push into poverty, the more likely they are to back cloud Puko land thinking. I'm not sure what that means, but if you mean that like people get desperate when it comes to poverty, then yes. That's right, Tandera. Hey, guess what year I wasn't born in? I don't know. Was it Damn it. Alright. So yeah, TLDR, I think Base of PJ is having some, is dropping some truth bombs here. I think so. Remember I can shoot a person on 5th Avenue? Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like cultish, right? It's cultish behavior. Some GOP officials are urging Republican voters to back Democrats in 2022 to save the party from pro-Trump extremists. 2 GOP officials have urged Republican voters to vote Democrats in the 2022 midterm election, suggesting that this might be a way for the GOP to battle pro-Trump extremists. Lamau, you know what they're going to do, right? They're going to double down. They're going to say that these people are rhinos, deep state, whatever. That's what's going to happen. So that's why I told everybody that hang on. This isn't going to work the way they think it is. Miles Taylor, a Trump-era Department of Homeland Security Chief of Staff, and Christine Todd Whitman, a former Republican governor of New Jersey, penned an op-ed in the New York Times on Monday. Taylor was a Trump administration official under the pen name Anonymous, wrote a 2018 op-ed in the Times describing a resistance of Trump administration officials working to tamper the former president's worst inclinations. Together, Taylor and Whitman asked the GOP base consider supporting Democrats so a conservative pragmatist could retake control of the party. But how is that going to work? How is that going to necessarily allow the GOP to take control of the conservative pragmatist control of the party if they elected Democrats? Wait. Does that make sense? How is this strategy intending to play out here? What is the goal here? What is the end goal here? Rational Republicans are losing the party's civil war. Now that I believe is true, and that's what's worrying me. That I believe is true, and that's what's worrying me. And the only near-term way to battle pro-Trump extremists is for all of us to team up on key races and overreaching political goals with the longtime political opponents, the Democrats. It's not gonna work out the way you think it was. Mayon Monkey, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Howdy. Welcome. It's a strategy that has worked. Mr. Trump lost re-election in large part because of Republicans nationwide defeated, with 7% who voted for him in 2016 flipping to support Joe Biden, a margin big enough to have made some differences in key swing states. Right. However, Sabnock Games, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome. The reason why... Okay, so I think people... I assume that they have kind of lost the plot here too. Folks, the reason why this happened was because... Not because they necessarily dislike Trump or whatever. It's because the gross levels of incompetence, especially with the dealing, or I guess not dealing, with COVID and the economic situation at the time, made the difference. It's not that they wanted or they were excited or they like really wanted a Joe Biden presidency, right? In my opinion, these Republicans, I'm not really sure they really wanted a Joe Biden presidency. I feel like they were just sick of Trump's incompetence. %, yeah. I mean, 7% is huge. Anything enough to make a difference, at least. If anything fails on the right, it's either the deep state communism, China, fake, and something about Biden's laptop. True. So yeah, what is a rational Republican? That's an absolute contradiction in terms. Well, I mean, so I guess they should... What I mean by rational Republican is like not MAGA, America First kind of QAnon kind of people, right? That's as close as we're going to get, okay? The two argued that the move is necessary because the Republican leadership has turned belief in conspiracy theories and lies about stolen elections into a litmus test for membership and running for office. True. Taylor and Whitman also suggested that if Trump-backed candidates continue to win Republican primaries, and they and their allies might start a new center-right party. Sure, do it. Do it. Please. Please, God, do it. The best hope for a rational remnants of the Republican Party is for us to form an alliance with the Democrats to defend American institutions, defeat the far-right candidates, and elect honorable representatives next year, including a strong contingent of moderate Democrats. Huh. Okie dokie. So you don't think Trump is laying the foundations for a return? Oh, I think he might. I think he might run. I think he might run. I honestly think he might run. There's no reason, especially with all of these rallies that he continues to hold. Especially with like this continuous insinuation and notion of, hey, Peter Parker, notion that he wants to run, I think he might. I think that if 2022 goes the way of the Republicans, and if it is a wild success at if it is a wild success for the more America First MAGA types, I think he's gonna run. Especially if that's the case. I mean, to be quite honest, I think if the GOP sweep 2022, I think he's gonna run. Because in a way, it's passively aggressive saying to the Dems that they better have those moderates out there and not the left. Right, exactly. That's... yeah, let's not meme too close to the sun there. Do you think that there's any chance for a sane Republican nomination? Nope. Nope, because their base is beholden to Trump politics, right? For some weird... it's not for some weird reason, but they have... They allowed Trump to kind of take over the party, to be honest. It's not really that difficult to kind of break down. It's the evangelical base, which is the evangelical bloc, which is huge. The evangelical bloc that delivers elections for the GOP is very much staunch Trump supporters, or at least very much in support of any Trump-endorsed candidates or any type of MAGA type folks. Don't polls look like 50-50 for Trump and anti-Trump? I don't think so. I think it's leaning more to Trump. Trump took over the Republican voters, and that's why the party plays along. True. I think there's some truth to that one. It's DeSantis or Trump in 2024, depending on who announces. I think those two are perfectly valid guesses. Base of PJ. I think that because, especially since Ron DeSantis has announced or has tried multiple times throughout last year and this year to raise his national profile in a setup to potentially run for 2024 with the whole like MAGA Trump approval or backing. My prediction is Trump isn't going to run, and he will not admit that he's running until the last 6 weeks before the election. All the Republicans will be decimated by it because Trump's wealth is dwindling. Man, I don't know. DeSantis and Trump represent the same insane turn of the Republicans have taken. True. That's why I think they're up there. Also depends if there's an 87% of winning. Many people actually don't want Trump, not in the news. Well, maybe. But, you have to get those people out to vote. I don't know. It depends on turnout, Alio. Trump's approval rating fell to about 30%. That's right, at some point. If something, God forbid, were to happen to old Joe, who will the Dems run instead? I think that, honestly, I don't know. I really hope that they do not run Joe Biden a second time. Oh, man. I really hope not. Please. Please, dear God, don't run Joe Biden again, because they will get swept. It's already bad. It already looks bad enough. If Trump runs, DeSantis will not have a chance. I don't know. I think if it might be between the two of them. Do you think maybe Pence runs as a more traditional Republican? Well, maybe. The problem with Mike Pence, and I know that some people disagree, The problem with Mike Pence is that he doesn't really have a national profile, does he? It's like, yeah, he was VP for 4 years, but does he really have that national, like, that national profile? I mean, he might try to throw his hat in the ring. I think he went, like, third, like, way down third place. I think Trump's losing energy from his crowds in person because he does and says the same stuff to where you can almost predict it. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. I don't know, Sindera. I don't see a strong Democratic candidate. I don't think they will run with Harris. Her approval ratings are not that good. I'm going to tend to agree with you, Peter Parker, that right now I don't see a strong Democratic candidate who can really take that to a 2024 mantle. Pence was done. That's why he accepted VP. He was hoping to outlive that monster. Trump is failing because he's running out of Kool-Aid. Maybe. Buttigieg, you think so? Yeah, like, it would make sense because, like, Joe Biden himself said that he wanted to be just like a one-term president, so let's hopefully they keep it that way. But hey, I mean, maybe you're right, Heat. Maybe you're right. Pence has not a national profile. What's more national than having a gallows with your name on it? Yeah, but like, in terms of, oh yeah, sure, that made the news and whatnot, but I don't think like he reaches voters on a national level, right, to win an election. I don't think he has what I mean by national profile is like, for example, Joe Biden is like a household name. Like literally everybody knows who Joe Biden is or who Joe Biden was, not only because of his senatorial stuff, but also he was the VP of Barack Obama. Like, he has a national profile and can draw votes from everywhere almost. But I don't know about Pence though. Does Pence really have that kind of like national reach in terms of getting people out to vote? I don't know. Also, where is Kamala? I don't know. I don't know. A Harris Warren 2024? I don't know. Pepe the Groundhog. Jacqueline Kamala. Shame they can't have Obama back. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Like, I feel like... Hashtag where's Kamala? Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, the era of this non-action is really over, I think, in my opinion. I think that the next candidate for the Democratic Party should be someone who is willing to do what is necessary to improve this country. The next Democratic candidate must be unabashedly ready to do whatever they can. It's Kamala, not Komala. Kamala. It's pronounced Kamala, like a comma. Oh, Kamala. Okay, perfect. Kamala. Bernie won't run, right? He's 1 million years. Well, yeah, I don't think he's gonna run. Hillary is the person you're imagining. Jesus. The next 70 years, I don't want another 70-plus-year-old president. Hillary 2024. No. Please, dear God, no. Please, God, no. So, the next Democratic president must be unabashedly ready to do what needs to be told and do what needs to be done, not told, and must be unabashedly willing to say the things and do say the things that need to be said and bring everybody kind of like out there, because folks, when it comes to important issues that have been neglected, for decades, that have been kicked down the road repeatedly, that people see zero solutions to, that it's just not going to work, okay? That's not going to work anymore. You've got to produce results, and you need somebody who's going to do that, okay? This right now is the turning point. This right now is the turning point that the Democratic Party has, okay? Arnold, no. No, please, no more celebrities. No, please. God, no. Just like no more celebrities in our politics. Running for like high office, like presidency, please. Please. Pelosi and Schumer? No. 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 Pence would lose because he's seen as a traitor by the MAGA. And still under FBI protection because he didn't block Biden. Who do you think the furthest left candidate will be? Who do you think will be a left candidate? Let's start there. Who will be a left candidate that will run? Let's start with that question. Who will be a left candidate that could run? But which candidate will the fundraising arm of the two parties support? True. I believe technically AOC can run, but I think she should. Throw her hat in the ring for Senate. You Yanks are laughing all your asses about this, but in case you didn't notice, the whole world shuddered when Trump was elected president. Thank God it survived him. Yeah, well, no, it's not. I never thought it was funny. I mean, like, maybe at the beginning, because I was like, ha, this guy's a clown. He would never win. And then I started realizing, like, oh man, he's actually going to win. Holy yikes. Literally, the moment they decided that they were going to run Hillary Clinton, I was like, oh boy. Alright, things are serious now. We need to organize because they didn't ask for a party, and our first write-in should be LeVar Burton. Who is LeVar Burton? Oh. Cool. Gotta run. Bye, guys. Stay healthy, y'all. You stay healthy. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate that. Reading Rainbow. I'm sorry, Memo. Excuse my ignorance, okay? Listen, I used to watch Reading Rainbow as a kid. I just didn't know the actual, like, name of the actor. Anyways, I don't know who is going to be the left candidate. I don't know if they're who is going to be a left candidate to begin with. So who knows? In my opinion, I think that the Democratic Party is going to do what the Democratic Party does, and they're going to fumble this up until and including 2024. Beto O'Rourke? Oh, I'm out of here too. All this Trump talk is depressing. Peace, y'all. I get ya. No worries, Patty on the wagon. Appreciate you hanging out here. Yeah, so I don't know. If Trump runs, he will win 2024 unless there's someone great running, but we know the Dems won't let someone great run, so we're gonna get Trump unless he dies. I mean, it's not exactly... I'll be back again. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you hanging out with us. That isn't exactly a scenario we can rule out. Memo. That is a very plausible way of how things can turn out. Especially if 2022 goes really bad. Especially if 2022 goes really bad. You know, that being said, the question of who is going to be the left candidate in that primary is a great question, and I think that's kind of like how we should get involved to the extent that we can, and it might be some way to get involved. Would they put a hit on? No. No. Imagine they will do Harris or Buttigieg, honestly, and that ticket will lose. I think so. I think so. How close are we to nuclear with China? Not close at all. I don't believe it. Anyways, we're way off. Well, not really that off topic, but let's just finish this here. It's not really off topic. It is important to discuss, especially with this article, who is going to be running and how the GOP is dealing with this. Or, I should say, lack of. And their allies might start a new center-right party, which I think they should. The best hope for the rational remnants and the Republican parties for us to form an alliance with Democrats to defend American institutions, defeat the far-right, and defeat far-right candidates and elect honorable representatives next year, including a strong contingent of moderate Democrats. Their suggested strategy would involve GOP voters supporting Democrats in difficult races like Virginia Representative Abigail Spanberger, Michigan Representative Elisa Slotkin, and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. They also advocate defending a small nucleus of courageous Republicans like Representative Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. Yeah, wait. So again, these are considered more or less, I use quotation marks for this one, but these are considered, or what they consider, the rational Republicans, right? Look at Liz Cheney's record. You don't need to listen to her rhetoric. Look at her voting record. It is almost about 90-something plus in line with 90-something plus in line with Trump. So, yeah. Kinzinger, for one, said in September that he thought the GOP should win a majority in the House if it is pushing division and pushing lies. Cheney also said in September that she's not ready to see the GOP to the voices of extremism, revealing as well that many Republicans, both in the House and Senate, have cheered her on privately in her fight against Trump. Again, like, okay, you, again, you're not really willing, if they're just doing this kind of in private, really means nothing, right? They don't have the spine to speak out publicly and say, hey, enough is enough. And that's what's dangerous about this whole situation, right? Yeah, do it. Tendera, make sure you reach out to your representatives on constantly and send petitions, do everything in, well, as a constituent. Anyways, TLDR, I don't think it's happening. I think that we should be wary. I think that unfortunately, the America First people are gaining traction, and I think that it's not looking good. Ironic that Trump has so much anti-vaxxer support when he vaxxed himself. Yeah, they don't get it.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccine.
This is also not my bookshelf. I am actually at my parents' house. I am pet sitting their fish while they are on a second part of the road trip. And I also am in process of moving. So next week you are going to see, hopefully, probably next week. There will be a video next week. But you will see a new setup for me. So that'll be exciting. Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckosphere, where we talk about climate news and solutions. You've entered the weekly climate recap. Oh, it's not weekly anymore. Every other week, I do a climate recap where I basically cover what is happening in the news to talk about reducing the impacts of and preparing for climate change. So if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you for just regular updates, I highly recommend hitting that subscribe button below, because I'm here for you every other week when it comes to that kind of stuff, as well as some other things in the mix, of course. By the way, if you see me looking down here, I have my iPad because there's a lot of information to cover and this helps me. Okay, back to the video. This week we are going to talk about the news from September 24th to October 7th. So let's go ahead and get right into it. An energy crisis is looming in Europe and in Asia as we head towards winter. And prices for methane, which was formerly known on this channel as natural gas, but we're calling it methane, calling it like I see it. The prices of methane have already gone all the way up to 6 times higher in Europe than they were this time of year in 2019, and 4 times higher in Asia. So I'm going to actually do a short separate video talking about the energy crisis, because I decided that in order to make these videos a little shorter, since I'm covering 2 weeks now, and also to dive a little deeper into topics, there's going to be little news bits from the recap that I think I want to cover a little more in depth. So those will be separate short videos that will come up next week, which is why hopefully you'll see my new background in one of those. But bottom line, there's an energy crisis right now, and I will cover it for you more next week, but there are some links in below if you want to check it out beforehand. In a somewhat related note, many cities in northeast China went dark. Immediately, popular commentators blamed it on the move towards renewable energy, which sounds like a Texas deja vu. But this idea was unfortunately echoed by CSC's Financials, which is a Chinese investment bank, so thanks. In reality, though, the blackouts were primarily caused by soaring coal prices and high electrical demand for factories bouncing back from COVID. The higher prices are from reducing the mining production due to safety and anti-grafting incidents. And China has also had less access to coal recently because they were in a diplomatic disagreement with Australia and are now sanctioning Australian coal. But many people do want to blame it on the transition because of factory closures, which put people out of work. The World Health Organization, or WHO, updated its air quality guidelines for the first time in 16 years. They say air quality is the largest environmental threat to human health next to climate change.
That's what you were saying.
And causes 7 million premature deaths a year. That's a lot. The new guidelines tighten standards for nitrogen dioxide, 2 types of particulate matter, ozone and carbon monoxide. But it actually loosens the standards on sulfur dioxide, so that's interesting. Climate change is fueling a migration crisis in Guatemala, as 1/5 of the population are facing dangerously high levels of food insecurity following a terrible drought and extreme storms and hurricanes. They have got it all. Crops can't grow in such extreme environment. So many are trying to flee to the United States, but the United States is rejecting them at the border. Chile, Denmark, the UK, France, Germany, Montenegro, and Sri Lanka have agreed to stop building new coal plants. Quote, moving away from coal is not a death knell for industrialization, but rather a much better opportunity for green jobs. There's 2 books out right now, big name books. There's Katherine Hayhoe's book called Saving Us, and you can check out the Climate Pods episode that they interviewed her on. There's also the Regeneration book by Paul Hawkins, who made the famous book Drawdown. Don't worry, I already have both of those. You'll probably see them in the back of a future
I subbed her because she deserves
that's not going away.
Because of you, she deserves it. Absolutely.
I will let you know.
I start my day with democracy now. Democracy. China has a fundamental mismatch in its power grid. I I'm not aware. A kinetic pause. Yes, I saw that thinking saber cat.
Know what I think, because I don't have time to do a book club, but I have some ideas. The EPA issued a new rule to sharply drop the amount of hydrofluorocarbons on the market, also known as HFCs. China also announced that they would join the effort to curb HFCs and outright ban HFC 23. This is actually another topic that I'm going to make a short video on because there's a lot to it, and it's very interesting. Like, what are HFCs 23? HFC 23. We'll find out. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a $15 billion package to fight wildfires, drought, and climate change in general. The largest amount of the bill is set to go to drought relief projects and expand to the state's water supply, which I'm not sure how you do that. I guess desalination and that kind of thing. Some money will go towards reducing wildfire risk, some with greening urban spaces, preparing for sea level rise, and decreasing climate impact of the agricultural industry, and electrifying public school buses and other state transportation vehicles. Quote, at the end of the day, we have to deal with the realities of climate change that are here right now. We can't afford to sit back passively and watch the debate unfold in Washington, D.C. Hydropower dropped 49% last year in Canada due to drought. Nationally, hydropower is expected to provide 14% less power this year compared to 2020. So if it was 49% last year, yikes. In other California news, an oil pipeline offshore of Orange County gashed somehow and has been leaking oil since October 2nd. If not earlier. That was just when it was earliest reported. It's not known yet how the pipeline got moved over 100 feet and gashed, but the running hypothesis is an anchor in the wrong spot. It took over 12 hours for Amplify Energy to report the pipeline spill. It spilled 126 to 144,000 gallons into the local environment, polluting multiple beaches and a wetland with oil and killing tons of birds and marine life. Quote, the oil has infiltrated the entirety of the Talbert wetlands. There's significant impacts to wildlife here. These are wetlands that we've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers, with a local land trust, with all the community wildlife partners to make sure to create this beautiful natural habitat for decades. And now in just a day, it's completely destroyed. This is by no means the largest oil spill in the West Coast's history, but it further reiterates how badly we need to move away from this form of energy generation. Multiple philanthropy organizations combined their efforts to devote $5 billion to the 30 by 30 concept, which is a goal to preserve 30% of wildlife and habitat onshore and offshore by 2030. Montana settled with its indigenous groups for $1.9 billion to improve their water quality in reservations. This is similar to the recent win by First Nations in Canada, who were going through the same problem despite being in one of the most water-rich countries in the world. This is because when Europeans built the US and Canada, they put the federal governments in charge of water infrastructure on reservations. And because people living there couldn't fix their own pipes or filters, they had to rely on the slow and neglectful governments to do that process. And as a result, pipes rusted and water was polluted by nearby industries, and indigenous people had to basically pay for bottled water to be shipped whenever they needed clean water to drink. So you can learn more about the stories below, but it was a very big win for Montana's indigenous groups to be able to have more access to clean drinking water. Germany has a new chancellor, and the Social Democrat Party narrowly beating out Angela Merkel's Christian Democrat Party, earning 25.7% of the vote. The Green and Free Democrat parties have also gotten more room in the parliament. This might be a good move for the environment as the Social Democrat Party is more progressive in that area. Though from my understanding, I thought Merkel did a pretty good job preparing Germany for being more climate friendly. Any German watchers out there, let me know what you think about that. I haven't followed closely enough to her policies to know, but she seems like one of the decent ones. The new chancellor, Olaf Scholz, had this to say, quote, the mandate for us is to do what the people want. He added, saying, to lead a good government that will set the course for the decade ahead, to bring more respect into society, to modernize our industrial sector, and to halt the man-made climate change. COP26 organizers removed oil companies Shell and BP from their principal partners list after they got a lot of backlash for having them on the list by environmental groups. They said that fossil fuel companies will have a minimal role to play in the conference since they don't have any science-based plans to reduce their emissions. Australia's Prime Minister and China's President are both threatening not to attend COP26. Australia is the world's largest coal exporter and the highest per capita CO2 emitter among the world's richest countries. And we know what in China's, the world's largest emitter, not historical, that's the US, but they're the current largest emitter. And we also are not sure if India's prime minister will be going yet either. He has not RSVP'd yet. Australia would be disappointing, but frankly not really that surprising because the prime minister has had a long history with the coal industry. And I feel like either coal will need to become no longer economically viable, or they'll have to have some sort of election, whichever comes first. As an example, the country already approved a third new coal mine expansion in a month. China would be incredibly disappointing. So would India. But this is what the COP26 president had to say about the Chinese president and his lack of RSVP. Quote, what President Xi Jinping has said is that they are going to strictly restrict the use of coal in this next 5-year period. From 2026, they're going to phase down. But we want to see the detail of that. They have said to me that they want the COP26 to be a success. The ball is in their court. We want them to come forward and make it a success together with the rest of the world. To decrease the number of people living in flood zones around the US, starting October 1st, the government dropped a lot of subsidies for coastal homes. So the people that are living in those coastal homes, they're really starting to feel the true premium of living in a flood zone. This can threaten the value of people's homes, particularly in places like Florida. A new paper by researchers from Carnegie Mellon University found that increased use of individual Ubers and Lyft rides could actually result in higher commute emissions. They simulated 6 cities.
I did 1.5 because we're limited on time, so I do want to get through this.
Using more ride sourcing services, and found that using more Ubers and Lyfts increases gas consumption by 20%, and increases congestion, crashes, and noises by 60%. And this honestly makes sense, because if you think about like the commute that the driver has to take from person A to person B's location, you don't have to do that with a car. The researchers also found that if Ubering and Lyfting kicked out public transit, that it would increase the external cost of travel by 30 to 35%, unless those rides are zero emissions, in which case it would actually drop the cost by 16 to 17%. Again, this is all having to do with individual travel. So if we're talking about more ride shares, then the numbers would be different, and it might actually be a beneficial thing. Now, the only good thing about incorporating ride hauling services is that it actually decreases air pollution, and that's because a lot of air pollution is made when we just start up our car. So they found that it would be 60% less air pollution in places that had more Ubers and Lyfts, specifically nitric oxides, particulate matter, or PM 2.5, and volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, because fewer cars would be cold starting. I'll link their paper in the source section below. It was quite interesting. Bike sharing services are actually pretty good. City Bike in New York saved the equivalent of 13,370 tons of oil and reduced CO2 emissions by 30,070 tons over the first 3 years of operations. I think biking is a great thing for a city. Instead of cars, or maybe the small little scooter things. Those are cool. I like those.
True.
A new study that got a lot of attention, probably because it's so damn depressing, looked at how many more heat waves the alpha generation would experience compared to their grandparents, which would be about baby boomer Gen X folk would be the grandparents. The paper found that kids born last year, 2020, will experience 7 times more heat waves, 3 times more crop failures and floods, and twice as much drought and wildfires than their grandparents that were born in 1960. This is the global average too, though. So in some places, the disparity is stark, and like Africa and the Middle East, where drought is going to be much more than just twice as much. Urban heating has tripled in the last 30 years, according to a new academic study. This is particularly due to climate change and population growth in urban areas. And as you can see, the hottest areas are predominantly in Asia. NASA launched a new United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket called Landsat 9.
You're welcome, next generation.
Collecting climate change related data such as urban area growth, glacial melt, and cropland health. Ford is clearly working on just being the tippity top of the electric vehicle revolution. They are building enormous facilities in Tennessee and Kentucky that will put 11,000 people to work. They're also investing in a US-based battery supply chain so that the US won't have to keep importing them from Asia. So it's more domestic reliance. And as I said in a previous recap, they're going to eventually work on making a closed loop system for batteries so that we don't have to keep mining for new materials. Meanwhile, General Motors launched a new electric delivery truck division called Bright Drop to make EV410. They're hoping to have EV410 be in production by 2023, with the first client in mind being FedEx. They previously unveiled the EV600, which will already hit the road this year, possibly just narrowly beating out a delivery truck being built by Rivian that's also supposed to come out this year. Overall, this is the amount of electric vehicles that we currently have in the US. Enbridge announced that it has finished upgrading the controversial Line 3 pipeline and has now begun flowing crude oil through it for about a week. This pipeline has long been protested against by environmental groups and indigenous people alike because it violates treaty rights and threatens the water supply of the local area where tribes grow wild harvest rice. And of course, it also contributes to the climate change causing industry. DC, 21 states, and multiple cities are urging the EPA to rewrite car emissions rules to make them stricter. Quote, there is no need to wait to require further deployment of these technologies or to delay the massive economic and public health benefits of reducing these emissions. The American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy and General Motors also support this push. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin and Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema have still been holding out on the spending bill, which would be a big climate boost for the country and the world. The Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has decided to go ahead with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which was previously tied together with the spending bill in order to get both of them passed. But she's going ahead with the infrastructure package so they can get something done. One of the parts of the spending bill that Manchin has expressed disinterest in is the Clean Electricity Performance Program, or CEPP, which is honestly one of the most important parts of the freaking package because it basically guides utility companies to reduce the amount of fossil fuel energy that they get. And that would basically decrease the country's emissions by 80% by 2035, I think it was. So it's huge. Manchin thinks that this will undermine the power system's reliability. To help Manchin better understand the benefits of the program, 21 energy experts from around the country penned a letter to him to explain that it will be a step forward for the country's energy industry. Quote, "We are writing to express our confidence that our nation's power system reliability can be preserved and enhanced with the Clean Electricity Performance Program in the legislative package now under consideration in Congress. As experts in the electricity industry, we believe that this sector must continue to lead the country in achieving both climate mitigation objectives and a reliable, resilient, secure, and affordable energy system. A new startup plans to help speed up reforestation to fight climate change, predominantly in areas that had recently been impacted by wildfires. Called Drone Seed, it has already raised $36 million in Series A funding. Quote, Drone Seed is the only company approved by the FAA to deploy a fleet of heavy lift drones to reforest after wildfires, enabling healthy forests to grow back. The drones are equipped with seed packets and dispensers, and the drones will plant them in certain areas after they have determined the best location for that seed to go. And the company sells carbon credits based on the areas that they help reforest, which they're able to do 6 times as fast as human operations. A new report finds that Texas oil and gas operations, such as the Railroad Commission of Texas, are making money off of oil and gas industries. That doesn't sound conflicting at all. For example, the Railroad Commission Chair Christy Craddock cast a deciding vote in favor of a pipeline company recently, and in return received $22,500 in campaign contributions from that company.
Wow.
Very subtle, guys. Unfortunately, this may actually be legal, so the authors are basically suggesting that they need to push for better laws. Quote, "We think it's time to take money out of decisions that are made at the state's agency. Oklahoma has a pretty simple, clear-cut rule that their oil and gas commissioners can't have any interest in the business that they are making decisions about." The Norwegian government announced that the country's sovereign wealth fund is committing to making sure that all companies in their portfolio are targeting net zero.
Stop climate alarmism? That's like a trope, right? I'll come back in a few minutes and I'll be happy to chat with you. Bro, if you're already thinking that that climate change isn't really nothing to worry about, and you're using the tropes like climate alarmism, despite the fact that we have like decades worth of of studies, a new report with the help and the work of over 14,000 scientists across the world. I think that it is you who are misled.
Emissions by 2050. The fund is the largest public stockholder in the world, representing
alarmism. It isn't alarmism. What they're mad about is reporting the facts. That's what they're mad about, and it is a trope used by by climate change denial propaganda. Alarmism is like a big one that they use.
1/10 of the world's wealth funds and 1.5% of the world's stocks. Norway is a confusing country because 98% of its energy comes from renewable energy, which is great, but 18% of its GDP and 68% of its exports come from exporting fossil fuels. My dudes. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction for them to align their wallet with their values. According to a new study by the International Monetary Fund, fossil fuel companies are making $11 million in global subsidies every minute. Most are going to oil, the second most being coal, and not that much is going to gas comparatively, but still more than the rest of the electricity grid. The India-based EV ride-hailing startup BlueSmart received $25 million in its Series A funding. BP Ventures supplied $13 million of that, and one of their managing partners will chair on BlueSmart's board. BlueSmart has already started in New Delhi, and they intend to expand to 5 other cities. BP has also acquired, okay, so is BP Ventures the same thing as BP? I need to double check that. I'm pretty sure it's the same company. BP Ventures is a part of BP. Does that make sense? I'm pretty sure that's true, but I just am not completely confident on that. But anyway, so the first one has to do with BP Ventures. This one has to do with BP, just because I thought they were put together. BP has acquired Blueprint Power, a startup that helps turn buildings into flexible power assets that lower the carbon footprint of commercial real estate. The company offers data services and algorithms aimed at increasing the commercial incentive for building owners to get their buildings greener. The USDA pledges billions to help farmers transition their farming structure to be more sustainable and resilient to drought. A new study found that UK home gas boilers emit more CO2 than the country's power plants combined.
Jesus
so to fix
Christ.
this is pretty easy. You just need to get an electric one instead, and electrify everything. So if you're in the UK and you are able to and you haven't done so already, definitely do that. The Confederation of British Industry, or CBI, said the installation of new gas boilers should be banned starting in 2025. Another analysis said that insulation in many UK homes are also lacking, with installation of insulation having plummeted by 95% between 2012 and 2019. That's a lot. Again, electrify everything, maintain good insulation, get double pane windows. We got this. The US Interior Department announced that it was rolling back a Trump-era rule that made it easier for fossil fuel companies to drill on public lands in federal waters, citing defects. The US Fish and Wildlife Services declared 23 species extinct, saying that all extinctions were caused by human actions such as habitat destruction and climate change. The EPA's Energy Star certification no longer gives out its most efficient rating to gas appliances. Quote, "This is the first time the federal agency is recognizing that there's not a place for gas applications in a clean energy future." Cities around the US are working on moving towards a greener energy supply, but partisan efforts called preemption are blocking a lot of cities from being able to make their own energy decisions and quit methane. This year's Nobel Prize in Physics went to 3 scientists, whose names I will put up on the screen because I can't pronounce them, for their work in predicting global warming and understanding the complex physical systems. All the scientists
has
are
actually
between
marginally
ages of
improved the
upper
climate
70s
situation in
and
my
lower
area.
90s.
Yeah, for now.
McDonald's announced it's committed to net zero emissions by 2050, joining UN Race to Zero and the Science-Based Targets Initiative. This means moving towards operating 100% on clean energy, yes, but also for striving for regenerative agriculture, a circulatory economy, and sustainable packaging. And those were their words, not mine. So that might sound nice, considering they are one of the few fast food places that still don't have a single vegetarian option. The International Air Transport Association announced it plans to get the international air transport industry to reach zero emissions by 2050, placing an emphasis on sustainable aviation and zero carbon fuels, as well as carbon offsetting. A de-smog analysis found that 2/3 of online posts from 6 major European fossil fuel companies are completely greenwashing themselves. These companies are Royal Dutch Shell, Total Energies, Repsol, Eni, Fortum, and Preem. The worst offenders are Preem and Shell. Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin are joining forces to build a network of electric vehicles in the Midwest. Their group is called the Regional Electric Vehicle Midwest Coalition, or REV. The U.S. envoy John Kerry started a group with different industry heads, industries that are all pretty dirty, such as shipping, cement, and commodification. They're called the First Movers Coalition, and they will work with the U.S. State Department and the World Economic Forum to find the best low-carbon options. Google has been busy recently at making it easier.
Yeah, zero emission Big Macs. Okay. Sure.
For people to make informed decisions about their travel emissions. They also announced that they would no longer allow climate deniers to make money through ads. This decision includes YouTube. So, hey, that's kind of cool. Quote, "We've heard directly from a growing number of our advertising and publisher partners who have expressed concerns about ads that run alongside or promote inaccurate claims about climate change. Advertisers don't want their ads to appear next to this content, and publishers and creators don't want ads promoting these claims to appear on their pages or videos." And that was a climate recap from September 24th to October 7th. Until next time, remember to talk about climate change every single day and to support your local news organizations. Thank you very much for my patrons for supporting my channel and the work that I do. If you would be interested in becoming a Patreon, go ahead and check out the link in the source section. Nope, it's below. A special shout out to the climate courageous and climate confident folks, David H., Vitus Fang, and FK. And Norman Anal.
Cool. Alright, folks, in case you wanted to rewatch or find out who this person is, make sure you check them out. There's a link. And just in time to deal with this one here, folks, we talked about this, I think we've talked about this several times at this point, and it hasn't gone away, so here we are. Rotting sea, Red Sea oil tanker could leave 8 million people without water. The impact of an oil spill in the Red Sea from a tanker that is rotting in the water could be far wider than anticipated, with 8 million people losing access to running water, Yemen's Red Sea fishing stock destroyed within 3 weeks. Negotiations are underway to offload the estimated 1.1 million barrels of crude oil that remains on board of the FSO Safer, which has been deteriorating by the month since it was abandoned in 2017. The vessel contains 4 times the amount of oil released by the Exxon Valdez in the Gulf of Alaska in 1989, and a spill is considered increasingly probable. The oil will spread well beyond Yemen and cause environmental havoc, affecting Saudi Arabia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. I can't pronounce that. According to the latest modeling, which is unlike previous studies because it examines the impact more than a week after the spill. 3-way talks between Houthi rebels, UN-recognized government of Yemen, and UN have floundered, I think was the word that they meant. Despite repeated warnings, including at the UN Security Council, of the impact if the tanker explodes, breaks up, or starts leaking. UN officials have been unable to secure guarantees to maintain the vessel, including its rotting hull, which is now overseen by a crew of just 7. Yikes. Modeling is published in the journal Nature Sustainability on Monday and showed the spill was likely to lead to the closure of the Red Sea ports of Hodeidah and Salif within 2 weeks, threatening delivery of 200,000 tons of fuel for Yemen, the equivalent of 38% of the national fuel requirement. Fuel prices are likely to rise as much as 80%. The absence of fuel for water pumps will result in 8 million Yemenis being deprived of running water. As many as 2 million will lose access to water if desalination plants in the region become polluted. Although half of the oil is anticipated to evaporate on the sea within 24 hours, the rest will, within 6 to 10 days, reach Yemen's western coastline and ports further south in 3 weeks. The numbers in need of food assistance vary from 5.7 to 8.4 million people, depending on whether the spill reaches the ports in the south, such as Aden. The estimates depend on the season when the spill occurs and the extent of the oil loss. The spill would threaten 65 to 85% of Yemen's Red Sea fisheries within 1 week, 93 to 100% of those fisheries within 3 weeks, depending on the season. The effects of air pollution from a spill, including risk of cardiovascular and respiratory hospitalizations, range from 11.3 million persons 11.3 million person days for a slow-release winter spill to 19.5 million person days for a fast-release summer spill. Red Sea coral reefs, which have been studied for their unique resilience to seawater warming, would also be threatened. This isn't an ecological disaster. This is a ecological catastrophe. Like, this is just beyond the pale. Treating climate change like it's gonna end the world, it won't, and science scenarios are not backed up by any scientific, not even for the most extreme scenarios. Wait, what? What are you talking about? Nobody's saying that, like, planet Earth is, like, gonna go away or something. Like, are you okay? Nobody said that, like, planet Earth is just gonna, like, blow up or something, or just be gone. However, it's going to cause severe, catastrophic scenarios where a lot of people are going to lose not only their lives, but their ability to grow food, which sparks conflict, their ability to get water, which sparks conflict, their ability to live in places like coastal cities and stuff like that. All the islands are going to be gone. Millions, tens of millions of people will be displaced. I don't get it. Yeah, the world will be inhabitable to some degree-ish. To some degree. There's a worst-case scenario which shows runaway deterioration of the climate. They're unlikely, but it is a possibility. Yes. And the more we continue to let this train go, the more likely those type of scenarios will manifest themselves. The reality is, climate change is a serious issue. I think it's going to cause a lot of problems, not just for human health, but the continuation of the ecological disaster that we continue to do is just not sustainable. I'm sorry. And you're going to not addressing this is going to lead to billions displaced, mass migrations, war, famine, pandemics. I mean, just this scenario alone, 8 million people are being threatened to lose water and food. The report in Nature Sustainability warns the spill could hinder global trade through the vital Bab el-Mandeb Strait, to 29 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, through which 10% of global shipping trade passes. Exclusion zones created for cleanup would reroute traffic, shipments be delayed, ships potentially exposed to oil would require cleaning. The possibility of a spill is increasing likely. The visibility of dilapidated safer is single hold, meaning a breach will cause the onboard oil to spill directly into the sea. Water entered the engine room in May of 2020 through a seawater pipe leak, and the vessel's fire extinguishing system is non-operational. A spill could occur due to a leak or combustion. Leak could arise due to continued deterioration of the vessel's hull or the breach of the hull due to inclement weather. Combustion would occur with the buildup of volatile gases on the vessel or direct attack on the vessel. The UN has been seeking Houthi permission to inspect the ship, but the Houthis want undertakings The vessel will be also repaired. An exercise requires money the UN does not have available. Jesus Christ. Right, it will just end, you know, billions of people. It will displace countless. It will destroy the ecology as we know it. It will make places uninhabitable that are vital to us growing food. It will make our ability to get water significantly worse. I mean, like, yeah, sure, it won't end the world, but yeah, sure. I mean, this is asinine to think that or to use that type of language. Stop being alarmist, bro. Okay. And as the Backosphere was talking about, the energy crisis is worsening. I think that wouldn't this be the perfect opportunity? I'm just going to talk about this really quickly. Wouldn't this be the perfect opportunity? Or wouldn't this be the exact scenario where we would want to push renewable energy sources? Wouldn't this be the perfect opportunity to say, you know what? This isn't working, okay? This is not working. We need to switch to a more sustainable method, cheaper method, and increase our energy independence and not have to rely on fossil fuels, right? Wouldn't this be the perfect opportunity? Look, this is getting way unsustainable. I mean, it's Jesus. There's a massive spike on oil and crude oil above $80, $8.52 a barrel. I mean, like, this is just way too much. Maybe we should focus on moving away from this. It's just not sustainable. It's not a viable business model. It's a dying industry. We should just quit giving them subsidies. We should move on and move towards the future. Can I send a quick link? Yeah, sure. Send it to me. What a fucking clown. Do you know that people will just adapt?
People always ask. All humans. People always ask me, Hank, is it true that if you gooped up all humans into one ball of flesh, that it would just be 1 kilometer wide and that you could fit it in Central Park of New York City? Yes, it is. They did the math. Seriously, people have been asking me about this, and yes, this is legitimate. But the thing that amazes me about this, despite the fact that someone visualized it, which is not great, is that this is a really small ball. Like, here's the main way that this is a small ball. We have had to take over the majority of the surface of the land to feed the goo ball. We have destabilized the entire climate of the planet for, like, the pleasure and comfort of the goo ball. I'm not...
Okay. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, no, so the point is, like, the idea that humans are gonna just adapt to it, so I guess we shouldn't do anything about it. Well, us moving into renewables, us getting off of fossil fuels, us moving into reorganizing our priorities of how we deal with these type of situations is the way to adapt to it. Jesus Christ. How dense can people be? Arizona's running out of water in the next 5 to 10 years, causing everybody's retired parents to move back with their kids as their life-saving in their desert home becomes worthless. Yeah, sure. While I agree with you that there should be some type of international cooperation, Mallhopper, while I agree with you that there should be some type of international movement, what we can do here is where we should be focused. Okay? I mean, like, do you have any type of control over what another country does? Do you have another do you have any control of what another country does? Or maybe, since you live in whatever country you live in, maybe you should focus on that. Because it seems to me like whenever people talk about like, oh, well, what about... Yeah, well, okay. The only way we're gonna have a leg to stand on in the international stage is if we ourselves do what needs to be done first. The only way we have a leg to stand on to bring an international coalition together is if we do what needs to be done first. Otherwise, what leg do we have to stand on? The US should be a world leader. We're not 5-year-olds whining Bobby didn't do it right. Yeah, exactly. Like, can you imagine, like, if this is the attitude that people have? Oh yeah, no. I mean, I guess Bobby isn't doing anything, so I guess that excuses us. Right, the US isn't doing anything. Correct, it is a childish mentality. Like, we have within our purview the things that we can do within the time that we have, okay? Like, pointing to like whatever other countries are doing or not doing is... I understand we do need an international coalition and we do need international cooperation and treaties and make a way that this becomes a global effort. However, that needs to start with us. That needs to start with us. And furthermore, we should do it because it's the right thing to do. Focusing on fixing our destroyed ecological systems, focusing on removing ourselves from fossil fuels and achieve energy independence, as they like to say. Focusing on making sure that we reorganize our priorities and the way we think about consumerism and the way we think about even how we eat. All of these things that we can consider and we can do right now are what we're capable of influencing. So why not? It's just the right thing to do anyways. Right, a nation of hyper-consumers who get new electronics almost as often as they get a cheeseburger and pick it up all in their oversized... Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And not only that, like, it's just the right thing to do. It doesn't matter. I mean, like, why is it that for us to have any type of action or to put our you know, impact on the board, why does it matter? Or why do we have to look to another nation? Do we need permission? I'm sorry. Do we need permission from any other country to start working on this, or can we, or where is that American exceptionalism that I always hear about when it comes to dealing with stuff? When it comes to dealing with crises, where is that American exceptionalism? Gone out the window, I guess. I guess American exceptionalism, American innovation is just one big meme. Seems to me. At least that's what you're saying. As the reality is, folks, it is a serious topic. And we need to do what we can within the time that we have, within the tools that we have, okay? No matter what country you live in, you should be trying to do whatever it is you can, okay? Yeah, that's not even looking at what US businesses do. That's right. Someone calculated this before. If the world lived the lifestyle of the average American, you would need 5 whole planets to sustain it. 5 whole planet Earths to sustain it. Yeah, I would not dispute that. The reality is we're just we're just stuck in this kind of loop, and it's not sustainable. Send it to me via whispers, James. We've been anesthetized by corporations and consumerism to think that we don't need to sacrifice anymore. Yeah, I think that that's the thing right there. It's like the consumerism, the unsustainable levels of consumerism is what really, I think, is one of the things that like triggers me the most. Is the unsustainable levels of consumerism is the thing that triggers me the most, I think. Oh yeah, here it is. We would need about 5 planet Earths. Australia taking place, second place, with 4.6 planet Earths to sustain that. In case you guys want the full article to this, infinite growth on a finite planet? What could possibly go wrong? Well, yeah, like I said, folks, the reality is there are, the reality is, this is, what we do here and now is what's going to determine which type of outcome we get in the future, right? What type of outcome we leave. What do you want to, what do you want to leave this planet? How do you want to leave this planet? Do you want to leave this planet better? Or do you want to at least fight to leave this planet in a better place? We punch above our weight down under? Jesus. How old is that? I thought we were up to 7 Earths. I don't know. Sure. $2021. Canada's right up there. 5.1. No wonder they're sending rockets out. Nah, no amount of rockets, no amount of money is going to save them. We don't have the capabilities of you know, living on Mars or any other planet. There is no planet B. There is no planet B, folks. Alright, folks. Unfortunately, it is about that time. However, please be aware of the realities that are happening. Do not be fooled by climate change denial and the usual excuses that we hear. We just can't do it. It's too expensive. But what about X, Y, or Z? What about X country? But what about the economy? All of these excuses fall flat once you actually start looking into things. And I highly recommend you check out the latest IPCC report, the latest leaked IPCC report. More of that is going to come out in the following months, I'm sure. But the reality is, as just echoing what the plurality of scientists have said, the plurality of international consensus across the world have said, is that we need to address this. We need to cut fossil fuels. We need to reorganize our priorities and how we think about the economy. We need to restore and pour resources to attempt to restore our ecological systems that keep us alive. And we must find a way to have some type of international cooperation to deal with this. Okay, the countries that are capable should be helping and supporting the countries that can't, to move and slowly and get us there to where we need before the time runs out. That's it. That's literally the plan. That's literally the only options that we have on the table, because the alternative is catastrophe, and the alternative is going to be a lot of pain, suffering, death. That's it. Alright folks, it is about 11:28. I do have to get going. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. Don't forget folks, if you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that follow button and make sure you join us on YouTube. Make sure you join us on the Discord. Make sure you join all the, social medias, the Bird app, all of that. Please spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and join us for Saturday Catterdays about noon Eastern Time. Make sure that that you keep up by following or by joining the Discord. Thank you. Have a good one. You have a good one. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Oh, real quick. Thank you so much for the follow, Freddy Drongo. Thank you so much for the follows. Savannah Games, Maya Monkey, Arctic Possum. Thank you for the raid, Dr. Heemdout. I appreciate that. And offline follows Slug Trail and Chrysanthemum. Appreciate all the support. Thank you guys. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. I'm sitting on a block of dry ice. Ooh, literally chill. Thank you, Darknet. Appreciate that. See ya. Appreciate ya. Appreciate ya. Alright, folks. Hang tight. Let's head on over to Tina's channel. Haven't seen Tina in a while. Alright, folks. Let's head out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.